up, everybody? I'm Dsmoovee, voice of the streets. Look, if you see me right now, you see the studio, you see what's going on. I got my man Tony Thompson of TB Studio in the building with me. I had to bring you up here because, you know, brother, look, we've been using your space for a little minute, and it would be unethical not to talk to you about what you got going on and what you do up here. So I wanted you to get a chance to introduce yourself, let the audience know who you are, what you do, even though they probably already do know.
Right. Well, thank you, brother. Well, I'm Anthony Thompson. People call me Tony, and of course the music side of me that most people don't know is TB Studio, and this is my place. You know, what I'm pleased is the fact that you know, we have some of the state-of-the-art equipment here, and music has been my original passion. A lot of people know me from the Kwame Building Group, which I'm the CEO and founder of. It's a construction management company. We're just going on our 32nd year in business, but my first and original love and passion has been music.
Absolutely.
And I played piano in the jazz band back in high school, and had music scholarship that I turned down actually to go to I went to architectural school, architecture engineering at KU, and they didn't offer architecture at the school. That offered me the music scholarship, so I turned that down and went on to engineering school, and I just kind of, you know, let my music go. Until recently, I wanted to get back into my original passion, and so I went to France to study under Jay-Z, he's a producer and engineer, a Young Guru, for about 10 days.
Wait a minute. What, you studied under Young Guru?
Yeah.
What, for real?
Yeah, you see that thing right there? That certificate of completion.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It was mixed with the masters, and he was the instructor, and when I came back, that's when I made my first album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we even get to the album part, let's talk about that experience, Brother Tony, of being able to go overseas and learn from one of the greats.
I mean, it was awesome, man. I wish I could do it over now, because I know so much more now than I knew then when I went. And it was like I was probably the least knowledgeable or experienced person there, you know, but I learned the most, right? Because most of the guys that were in the class with me, they're from all around the world. I mean, from India, from Dubai. It was like one of the top what do you call it, EDM producers in Dubai was in the class with me. One of Justin Timberlake's engineers was in the class with me. There was guys from the UK, you know, it was just an amazing experience. I learned a lot. I probably learned as much from the people in the class with me as I did from actual, you know, from Guru, because I didn't know the terminology, you know, I didn't know a lot of the things, you know, that he was talking about, and I was just taking notes and writing stuff down and listening and going on, and it was awesome, man.
I love the fact that you are so humble about the spaces that you've been in, like, and now to see the album on the wall and to see like some of your projects come out. The Sound of My Mind. Talk to me about that project. Like, what was that? What was that thought?
That's interesting. It's fascinating because, you know, it just kind of came to me that I just make music that I feel like people ask me, well, how long does it take you to make a track, or how long does it take you to do this or that? And I really can't put a time limit on it, because sometimes, you know, it's weird almost. You know how people hear voices in their head, you know, I hear music, you know, so sometimes I might wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, with a melody, and I'll go down into my studio, because I have a studio in my basement. I go down,
so you hard, see, yeah,
and I put a little stuff in there, and then I wake up the next day, and then I just kind of work on it over time. And then there are times where I really have it all laid out in my mind, and I'll just go in and I'll just knock the whole thing off in like maybe 30 minutes, you know. And then, so The Sound of My Mind is really, the first album came from the sounds that I was hearing in my mind, you know.
Absolutely.
And it was right after, you know, music has been really therapeutic for me, you know, because most people who know anything about me know that my brother and I are really close, and he got killed about 12 years ago, some guy shot him in it. And so I couldn't sleep, you know, I was having nightmares, dreams. I wake up in the middle of the night, you know, and I'd go down there and I would just, you know, play the piano, you know, I would make music, and I just started recording it. He liked jazz, because I'm a jazz musician. So it was really very therapeutic for me to just play and play things that reminded me of him. Like there's one track on there called Brother, and it was really about my brother.
Look, Brother Will, may peace and understanding bless you, and because I know that losing a sibling, you know, I wouldn't understand that pain, but for those who have experienced that, I know it's no easy feat to actually
Yeah, it's nothing. I mean, every day it's something that you know, for all the brothers and sisters out here who have lost loved ones, or the folks that's out here just gang banging and doing foolishness, whatever, it's like, you know, you can't replace that, man. You can't bring it back, and it never goes away, and it never gets any better. So people say, oh, you know, time will heal this time. No, I don't. It's just something that you now have to learn how to live with.
Become accustomed to.
Yeah.
Now, I love the fact that it's your mind time that you get to spend to create your craft, and you get to just really put that out there to everybody. When you have that time to actually sit to yourself, did you actually see yourself going down this music path, or what's something else that you
well, I mean, well, it depends on which time you're talking about in your life, right? Because as you live and as you grow, you know, you go through transitions in your life, and there's very key pivotal milestones throughout your life that you have to reflect upon and find out, you know, what is it you want to do and where do you want to be. I've been blessed to have been able to do all the things that I want to do. You know, I wanted to play music, so I'm making music. You know, I wanted to have my own business. I started my own business. You know, I'm running a business. I employ people. But see, having my own business was not about making money. Because I was working at Anheuser-Busch, I was working at the Corps of Engineers and Monsanto. So I had
been getting money.
I was making. I had a decent job, so it wasn't about that. It was about, and I want everybody to hear this very clearly. It was about the freedom that having my own business provided. You know, money is secondary. You know, my daughter was born. When I was working at Anheuser-Busch, I had a project. I had to be in Newark, New Jersey the next day. They didn't care that my daughter was born. I had the project I had to finish.
Word.
They're not about family, you know. Yeah. But once I started my own business, I never missed a PTA meeting, PTO meeting. I never missed a parent-teachers conference. Never missed, you know, field hockey or soccer or basketball games, because it was my time, right? Mm-hmm. So if I had a project that I was working on, I can always stay up at 3 o'clock in the morning and finish it. But if I had to be somewhere for my kids, I was there. Whereas when you're working for someone else, your time is not your own, it's theirs. And so the freedom is what I looked at. Now, don't get me wrong, you know, when you have to rely on banks, and when you have to rely on clients for your business, you're still not 100% totally free. Mm-hmm. But I can say by not working for corporate America, I might be a little step closer to freedom than most.
My man, I respect you on that,
right.
Because entrepreneurship is something that I talk a lot about. Mm-hmm. And to those who are scared to take that leap of faith, those who don't know, Brother Tony, what advice would you give them?
That's a very good question. The advice I would give anyone, first of all, I encourage any and everyone to have their own business. Whatever it is, because I believe everybody has something that they're better at than anybody else. You just have to dig down deeper. What is it? What is it you feel like you're better at than anybody else? Something that you would do even if you didn't get paid to do it. Something that you're really passionate about. That's what people should pursue. Because if you don't make a lot of money, you'll still be happy. You'll be satisfied. Now you got to eat. You got to make ends meet, so forth. Yeah. But you know, I'm not one of those individuals that I don't have to have two, you know, yachts and planes and cars. And, you know, I don't need all that. And so people have to ask themselves, what's important to you? What is it? Because when you'd be surprised at how little you need to survive.
Absolutely.
See, a lot of people think that, you know, because they're trying to keep up with the Joneses or someone. I've never measured my success or whatever I was doing by what someone else was doing. It was always based on what I feel. You know, you have to set the standard for yourself, because don't let other people define you. Don't let other people determine what you're worth, because they're never going to pay you what you think you're worth or what you are actually worth. So the advice I give anybody, if you want to have your own business, and this is number one, I tell people all the time, if you got a job and you're making decent money and you're making ends meet, and so you start living a certain way, you start getting accustomed to a certain lifestyle.
Very true.
So what you have to do is you have to back up and say, okay, you know, if this is something that I really want to do, then I need to not be so dependent on that money. So don't leave your job until you can no longer afford to stay.
I didn't know you're gonna be dropping gems, brother Tony.
Well, yeah.
I asked you, and I didn't know you was gonna do them like.
So if I'm working somewhere, and I really want to have my own business, and I'm talking about me now. I'm working at Anheuser-Busch, decent salary, making money, working for one of the top three. Everybody trying to get in Anheuser-Busch, right?
Yeah.
I quit my job to start my business. I didn't get fired. I didn't get laid off. Whatever. I quit to start my business because I was doing it on the side for 3 years before I actually quit my job. So that means I was running projects on weekends, and at night when I got home, I was up all night working on my business plan. Even when I was traveling, I'm working on my business plan. And what I'm saying to people is there are sacrifices that you have to make to do the things that you want to do in life. And I tell people you have to work hard now the way most people won't, so that you can live later the way most people can't. And so what I did was I was doing all the stuff at night.
Yeah.
I was on a weekend. I had people that were laid off from McDonnell Douglas, laid off from Boeing and different places like that. And they were working for me while I was going to work during the day at Anheuser-Busch, and I was employing them to run projects. And so what was happening, I wasn't making any money. I was paying them, but I was getting experience, right? Don't discount experience. Experience is worth more than anything.
Very true.
So I'm getting experience as an entrepreneur, running business, building a track record, employing some brothers and sisters. So by the time I got ready to quit my job and jumped out there, it was like, man, I'm making X number of dollars here. I could be doing that on my own.
Right.
So once it got to a point where I built up enough backlog, I quit my job. So the first year I was out, I didn't make any money because I was paying everybody else. Now before I jumped out there, paid off my credit cards, didn't have a lot of expenses and bills. First thing that people need to do, if you want to do this, there's sacrifices you have to make. The sacrifice that I made, I was driving my kids to school in this Audi that I had. The rearview mirror was taped to the dashboard because it fell off the
You gonna make it work?
The door. They used to hate me taking them to school because I had to get out and let them out because the passenger door wasn't open.
I see. At least they had to get out in the trunk,
right?
Though. That's what I say. Yeah.
So the first year I didn't make any money. Second year I probably made as much as I made when I was working at Anheuser-Busch. Third year I probably made twice as much as I made at Anheuser-Busch. Now I would have never been able to make what I make now if I stayed in Anheuser-Busch.
That's cool. So, brother, that's the beautiful thing about entrepreneurship. And I'm looking around the studio, man, and I see this masterpiece in the background, and I know you got a story behind it. I wanted you to tell us a little bit about this.
Okay, well, what this is it's a mixing console. It's a SSL AWS. And solid state logic. SSL stands for solid state logic.
Yeah.
And AWS is an automated digital workstation. And the thing that's unique about this particular one, it's a 940L. It's an analog and digital workstation.
Yeah.
So like you can, I can flip it and then it'll switch and it'll change, and I can make it like a digital workstation, but I use it mostly in analog because most people, the home computers, they're trying to get that analog sound. Everything is geared around trying to make things sound like the original stuff. That's funny how everything is kind of going backwards, right? The best, quality sound, just like vinyl's coming back. I heard for the first time last year, I think vinyl sales outsold CD sales.
Are you
or
serious?
Something like that. No, yeah. And so, because they're trying to emulate and capture the best quality sound. And so analog recordings and digitals and stuff like that is one of the best. So this particular one, when I knew I wanted to have a digital workstation or an analog workstation, I found this lady was in the military who had a company that is called Suzanne's Missing Pieces or something like that. And what will happen is, she can find anything, or she was in Iraq and all this kind of stuff. Apparently, if you say you lost, this piece off your band right here, and you wanted to replace that, you tell her what it is, show her a picture, whatever, she could find another one like that somewhere, anywhere
in the world.
Oh, that's
so
cool. I told her about this, and so she came back and she was like, "Well, Taylor Swift's engineer was getting ready to go through a divorce. He had just got a brand new SSL and it was in a crate in New York on a dock. if I wanted, I could get it, and that's why I got it.
What?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened.
What kind of?
And then he threw in the Matty, interfaces with it, because those things right there about $30,000-$40,000 by themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of perseverance and that kind of like, it don't happen too often that you can kind of expose yourself and expose St. Louis to this stuff now and give us a different quality of sound. A lot of people don't understand, like, behind the artist is the producer.
Right.
And Brother Tony, you've been, how long have you been producing for now?
Probably about, 8 years maybe.
8 years?
Yeah. So a lot of you cats came up, and I had to learn I didn't know what Pro Tools was, man. When I was in college and high school, I had to learn, Pro Tools. I had to learn, Ableton Live and Machine.
Yeah.
I had to learn all that stuff. I could play the piano. That's all I did in high school was just play. So the production, the audio side is totally new to me. I took an independent study class at Webster University on audio production. I had an independent study class where the guy came here and taught me how to master. So the point again I'm making is if it's something that you want to do, I go all in, man. I want to know how to do it. Even if I want to hire someone else to do it, I want to know that I'm getting my quality and I'm getting my money's worth, and they're not pulling my leg or whatever. So I know how long it should take to mix a song. I know how long it should take to master a song. I know what it takes to master a song, and so that's really what I wanted to do. So before I would try to get my music out there in production. Now I don't really. I make music for myself, and if people like it, fine. If they don't like it, so be it.
Yeah.
But if some people want to record and they got tracks that they want to record on, then bring me the track and I'll make it sound as best as I can make it sound. But I'm not concerned about, being in the video.
Yeah, you ain't Puff, you ain't P. You gonna be sure with it. I appreciate you. So, Brother Tony, first off, I want to say, and for all the artists out there, he just gave y'all a plug, a gem right now. If y'all want the best sound, you know where to come at. So, brother, I want to talk to you also about your community initiatives that you have going on. It's so many of them, but I wanted you to kind of list them off and talk a little bit about it.
See, that's always a difficult thing to heart because I was raised. My mother, who passed away last year, she raised us to tell us that hey, none of us have made it until all of us have made it, and that's how I lived my life. My father, when we were growing up, I was the oldest in the family, so we had a deal that the first one to graduate has to help the next one, and then he has to help the next one, whatever. So
that's a beautiful tradition.
I helped my brother. He went to Lincoln University for a while, then he helped my sister, and then and unfortunately, when it stopped, and my brother ended up going to be a police officer, so forth. So I ended up as the oldest, trying to help all
everybody else down there.
Right.
Yeah.
So my youngest brother, who's an attorney right now, he was working for me at the time, and he was going to go to medical school, and I convinced him to go to law school. He went to law school, and I helped pay for his tuition, and he graduated. He worked for one of the top law firms in St. Louis, Brian Cave, and now he has in his own practice in Atlanta. He had his own practice now for over 20 years. And he still handles all my contracts and legal stuff, but we've helped each other. It's about self-reliance, and that's something that's been missing, I think, in the Black community, and it's something that we have to get back, is being self-reliant. We have to rely on each other for our survival, and we see what's happening right now. If we don't, we won't be. If you look back 100, if there's somebody 100 years from now look back, they would think Black folks were here just to entertain white folks.
Virtual.
If we don't do things to, and I hope that you, like what you're doing, you're leaving a legacy. You should write a book. Everybody should write a book because everybody has a story. Everybody has something that they can share to let people know that we're broader than just what we hear by someone else defining us as entertainers and athletes and that sort of thing. But so that's where that originally comes from, is giving back and helping make sure that the world is left better than it was when I got here. So education has opened the door for me. So the first initiative that we set up was my foundation. We've given out over $3 million for first generation minority college students.
Dope.
At all the local universities. I have endowed scholarships range from $100,000 to $200,000 at each of the universities. And so right now, this year, we're starting to focus on nothing but HBCUs.
I appreciate that, brother.
And so we've already had some, but now that's all I'm focused on, HBCUs. And my sister is currently, she just came back actually from a historical black college tour that she does every year with about 100, 150 students. She takes them on all the university tour. And the beauty about that, a lot of these young high schoolers never been out of town, never been on a college campus. And so by going and seeing these facilities, they've also had it set up so that they know that they're coming. And a lot of them have applied and have gotten accepted at the universities on the trip. Some have even received scholarships on the trip. So that's a big part of what we do.
That's an amazing part of what you do.
And the young man, Mr. Strong, I met him when I was doing what we call the Gentleman's Club at Carnahan when he was in high school. He reminded me that he still had my number in his phone just a second ago. But that whole thing was about Dr. Roach, who was the principal at the time, approached me about coming to help out at the school because they were having a lot of issues at that school, and for whatever reason they were saying it was one of the poorest performing, they had a lot of issues, so forth. You know, I never looked at it that way and viewed it, but that's what I was hearing, right? The graduation rate in the St. Louis public schools around 67, 70%. But after, you know, the years that we've been involved at that school with the program, the graduation rate was 100%.
That's what's up.
With all the young men, we had 25, on average, we had about 25 men in the program. You know, it fluctuate between, 15 to 25. But we always had 100% graduation. Some have gone on, most of them have gone on to college or military or went straight to work. So it's not like they weren't doing anything.
Right.
And I told Dr. Roach, I said, I'll do it, but I'm not going to tutor them because they're not dumb. I'm just going to be there to change their minds, to change the way they think.
Be present,
just
absolutely.
the way they think about the future and what it has to hold. And I would bring them lunch, newspaper. We would talk about the Wall Street Journal, teach them how to read the stock sections.
That's what's up. I wish somebody would have did that for me.
We did. What's some of the stuff we did, man?
Man, we had. Boy, you taught us how to dress suits, ties.
Oh yeah, I bought them ties and that. I actually one year got them on.
Attire, appropriate interview attire, all that type of stuff.
The thing that was really blew my mind with that, because so I'm just doing this stuff, and you never know how you're impacting people, right?
Absolutely.
If you just read one person or two, then you did your thing, but you never know. All I can do is throw it out there and see what happens. Well, when my brother got killed, and I didn't know anything about it, but it made, I was handling this thing at the service and everything, and all them cats came in there with the suits on, the ties from the school that came there, because he was involved with the program with me initially. So the fact that young cats today, I mean, right now you can barely find a brother with a suit and tie on, or even know how to tie a tie. They all were there, and they all had their suits on and ties. So I'm like, okay, so I did make an impact, or he made an impact on those young men. But it's just making sure that they recognize everything that's available to them. I bring speakers in to come talk to them.
Definitely, yeah.
We as blacks, we just have to be exposed. I mean, sometimes, we don't know all the opportunities that exist out there, but once we see it, you never know. Someone may go down that path to be a veterinarian or be a banker or whatever. So that's really it's just exposure.
Once that world opens up to us, and it's like an oasis. Now we can see so many avenues, so many lanes, so many things that we can do.
Exactly.
And we need brothers like you that are actually doing the work, that can show our young black kids a different way. So thank you so much, brother, for what you do. I don't know if you're going to have people in the studio, if you're going to have kids in the studio, but...
Well, actually, I've had kids in the studio.
Okay.
I did like a fundraiser for Jenny's Choir one time. I had them brought them here, recorded them, said, hey...
That's what's up, yeah.
take this and you guys go sell these CDs and raise money for the school, you know, stuff like that. So I want to try to find a way to be creative to even use the studio to give back and create opportunities.
Absolutely. So I appreciate you letting me be able to use the studio for my creative purposes. Thank you so much to Key Productions as well for being able to produce T-Strong behind the camera. And thank you so much, Brother Tony, like for what you do in the community, what you have done and what you will continue to do. So I need you to let people know how they can follow you, how they can tap in with you, how they can get in touch with you, all that
Key.
stuff. No, he's serious. Like, call Key.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not on social media. I don't do all that.
Yeah.
You know. I just do my thing.
I appreciate you.
All right.
So look, thank you so much to our sponsors, TB Studio. I got Tony Thompson right here, Key Productions, T-Strong. Be sure to follow us on YouTube, On the Streets 314, Facebook, and Instagram, Voice of the Streets. Peace.